Now I want to hand it over to Henry from Streamr. We started working a couple months together a couple months back, and it's been a blast. I think they have a really great vision for the future. So please welcome Henry.
Thanks, Michael. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. And thanks to OSIsoft for inviting us here. So I'm Henry, CEO of Streamr. Let me kick off by asking you guys a couple of questions. Now, hands up, and be honest here, who's collecting data that does not get used to its full potential? I know we are. Yeah, I can see a lot of hands here. Okay, hands up if you think you could improve your business by getting access to some data that you're currently not getting. Again, a lot of hands. Okay, last question. Hands up, is anyone here sharing data across organizations to get more value out of that data? Still hands, but not too many. Okay, good. You should find this presentation quite interesting. So let's begin with the value in data. The total value of data consists of internal value and external value. By internal value, I mean benefits that you can get from your data by using it within your organization. The traditional case, right? By external value, I mean value that someone else sees in your data and is therefore willing to either pay you for it or turn it into something more valuable for yourself. Now, as OSIsoft customers, you already have excellent tools for extracting the internal value in your data. That's great. You're covered for that part. Now, Streamr is creating complementary technology that allows you to tap into the external value of data. Let me show you what that means. So here's a group of companies. They're collecting data into their own little silos and completely ignoring any external value in that data. However, let's assume for the sake of conversation that they would benefit from getting each other's data for whatever reason. Maybe they're part of a consortium or alliance, or maybe some of the companies are able to collect data that the others can't, or, for whatever reason. Now, they would love to start sharing and monetizing data amongst themselves, but there's a bunch of obstacles on the way. First off, someone needs to set up and host the system, but nobody wants to take the initiative and bear the costs in time and money. The companies also need to agree on a technology to use, which is difficult because there are no open standards for this. Even if one of them takes the initiative, now the other companies feel uncomfortable joining this system created and owned by this leading company. This is an unequal situation where the leader has too much power and too much control over the system. Even if the companies can overcome these problems, they're still facing complicated contracts, data licenses. They need to figure out payments and accounting and all that hassle. Now, for companies like yours, whose core business is not data monetization, there's just too much friction in getting started with this. And yet, as you know from your work with OSIsoft, there can be huge value potential in data. So we're kind of stuck, right? So we're using the power of blockchains and peer-to-peer networks to solve this problem. So Streamr is a real-time data network. It's a distributed data fabric that transports data and payments between participants. It's a neutral, common ground for machine-to-machine communication, even across organizational boundaries. It's open source and aims to be an open standard for sharing and monetization of real-time data streams. Each party is equal in power, and the system is collectively run by the participants. there are no centralized points of control, and there are no middlemen. The system can scale from a private consortium deployment with a handful of participants, such as the one shown here, up to a global open network where anyone can join in. On top of this base layer is a marketplace, also co-owned and co-operated by the participants. The marketplace allows you to buy access to data streams from other organizations or put your data up for sale. Data licenses are implemented as smart contracts on the blockchain, which means that payment and access control are built into the system and enjoy the strong security properties of blockchains. To give you some ideas about how to apply this to your field of business, let's look at some use cases. So, okay, hands up if anyone here operates a fleet of mobile assets, cars, trucks, trains, ships. Okay, good. Your vehicles, they're moving around, roaming the world, and while doing so, they can measure things. Not only things related to the act of transportation itself, but also the environment, right? So, are you selling road condition data to the road authorities? No. Are you selling mobile network coverage data to telecoms? What about weather and pollution data to other drivers? Or driving habits? Imagine the savings if you could share metrics with insurance companies to prove just how safe your drivers are. So as you can see, transportation generates a lot of data that often remains uncollected. Sometimes because the internal value might be low, and the external value has so far been difficult to monetize. Another example, robots in a smart factory. Now, the robot manufacturer would love to get their hands on data from these real-world field deployments of their robots, perhaps to create better machine learning-based predictive maintenance algorithms. As you know, AI and machine learning typically get better with more and more and more data for training. Now, there's a problem. So this is partially sensitive customer data, and obviously the robot manufacturer can't just go spying on their customers, right? So instead, they could incentivize the customers to share the non-sensitive part of that data and be automatically compensated for participating. The money spent on buying this raw data from the customers is easily earned back by being able to develop improvements to the robots, to the predictive maintenance, and other added value services unlocked by getting access to this previously inaccessible data. One more example, quality assurance of perishables during cold storage transit. Now, this is actually an example that could involve not only the Pi system and Streamr, but also the smart contracts perhaps developed by the Blocks guys, the next speaker. So, here, the transport company, the carrier, is responsible for keeping the temperature in the container within certain limits. If they fail to do so, they could be automatically penalized and the owner of the goods compensated. Wouldn't it be awesome if this required zero human involvement to resolve this kind of dispute? Here's how it can be done. So the carrier places a stake into a smart contract, a deposit to guarantee that the temperature limits are not violated. Then an inexpensive IoT sensor is placed into the container, which reports back readings to the Pi system and to the Streamr network. Now, if a violation is detected, the smart contract gets notified and it automatically slashes the deposit placed by the carrier and reimburses the owner of the goods. This data would actually be also interesting to third parties, such as import authorities or even the end users buying the food from their local supermarkets. So here comes the amazing part. So as you might have already guessed, working together with OSIsoft, we've already integrated the Pi system with Streamr. Now, the integration is still experimental, not yet a full product, but it means that everyone here running the Pi system could easily start trading data with others. In fact, it will be as easy as simply switching on the feature. So what's our proposal to you today? So if this presentation sparked some ideas about use cases in your line of business, please get in touch. OSIsoft and ourselves would be happy to work with you, but we do have limited places for these fascinating pilots. So there's a bunch of us present here today at the venue. Could all the Streamr guys please stand up and wave their hands? Okay, great. So find these guys or myself or Michael and have a chat. You can also find us online at streamr.com or on Twitter, Telegram, and Reddit. We are Data Done Differently. Thank you very much.